In a season where the vibes have been so incredibly down, it's amazing how one game can feel like it turns almost everything around.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into last night's big win for the Rangers, things going right for 3 of the guys who need it the most in the biggest possible way. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Now, the Rangers were able to come back in last night's game after an absolutely brutal loss on Tuesday, a not quite as brutal loss on Monday, and also brutal loss on Sunday. It's been a bad week for the Rangers. Things have not been going well. It's been a bad month. It's been a bad since the All-Star break. It's been a bad year for the Texas Rangers. But last night, getting a win like that in extra innings, making sure that you at least avoid the sweep in a series where the Rangers quite possibly could have won all 3 of these games. But they didn't, but they could have with all of these games. But last night, they did get the win. They got huge games from 3 guys who desperately needed to have big games. The first star of last night's game has got to be Adolis Garcia. A 3-hit day, also was hit by a pitch, a pair of home runs. Somehow, the first and only so far multi-homer game of Adolis Garcia's season. I've read that in a story from the Dallas Morning News of Sean McFarland last night, and I thought there's no way. There's no way. Surely he had one in April. I mean, he was on fire in April. Surely that was... Nope. It wasn't the case. These were not just weak over-the-monster home runs, though granted, his one in the 8th inning would have only been a home run in 5 of 30 ballparks, but still, these were very hard-hit home runs. Even his single in the first inning, 97 miles an hour off the bat, also hit by a pitch, 108.6 miles an hour on the home run in the 6th inning, 102.9 miles an hour on the home run in the 8th inning, getting the Rangers into a position where they had a chance with not only the home run from Adolis Garcia, but 4 home runs for the Rangers in this game, all of them important, every run important, and the Rangers finally, it feels like for the first time in, 3 billion years, the Rangers got a home run with runners on base, not just runners on base. And that came in the form of Wyatt Langford, who desperately needed a redemption after trying for outfield assist number 3 on the series. Instead, airmails a ball that ends up letting in the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. Ended up being 3 runs that would score in that inning, and there were 2 outs in the inning. This was a ball that Wyatt Langford, I think pretty clearly with an accurate throw, would have just nailed the runner by a couple feet. He was in shallow left field. He's got a good arm, something I didn't really know about him heading into the draft. Wasn't really advertised as one of his carrying tools. Obviously, that was the hit and the power and, the speed. But he'd had a couple of good throws earlier in this series, another couple of questionable decisions on his throws. This one was just airmailed by about 40 feet, just completely over the catcher, completely over the cutoff man, hit into the netting, allowed the runner to go to second and third as opposed to first and second, and also allowed that run to score. And then subsequently, David Robertson would let up 2 more runs on a double that hit off the third base bag. 3 runs from one of the 2 absolute stalwarts of your bullpen in a game where the Rangers had been on a losing streak, had been in just such a rough way, needed a win in such a bad way, and that error would have ended the inning scoreless, and maybe that 3-run bomb would have just been a go-ahead bomb as opposed to a game-tying bomb. But still led to a big moment that 9th inning with a couple of singles from Josh Smith, from Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia popping out, and Nathaniel Lowe hustling his butt down the line, breaking up a double play. And if he didn't do that, the Rangers would have lost in 9 innings. But alas, he hustled his patootie down that line, gave Wyatt Langford a chance to redeem himself, and he gets a pitch that he can absolutely handle, and he obliterates that thing for a game-tying home run with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Are you kidding me? Wyatt Langford. This is the kind of moment the Rangers wanted to see from this rookie. This is the kind of moment that I think we'll see quite a bit of from Wyatt Langford. I'm hoping moving forward. It has been a frustrating season, a frustrating rookie year for Wyatt Langford, thrust into a bigger role than probably should be asked from a rookie with basically 2 months of professional experience. I think about 200 plate appearances exactly. It's how many he ended his rookie professional season with. And then has the spring training of his life, and injuries and underperformance and all kinds of things forced the Rangers to ask Wyatt Langford to do probably more than a 22-year-old rookie outfielder should be doing. I mean, I feel like we forget about that because he's been in the big leagues since the start of the year. He was the story of spring training, and the Rangers thought, okay, well, this is our guy. This is a guy that we lucked into, and he has been amazing, so let's see what he can do. And, well, he's been a rookie. He's been inconsistent. He's had some failures. He's had some strike zones that have been the most ungenerous I think I've ever seen on a rookie. I mean, Josh Young might argue with you for last year, but he has had a rough year. But seeing him get this kind of an opportunity to do this kind of a damage in what felt like a monumentous win, what might not end up being monumentous at the end of the year when all is said and done, who knows? At this point, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows, except for the script writers. They're doing not a great job. I have some words for them for what they've done this year, but still getting a win like this was huge. And not to mention Jonah freaking Heim going Heim time on a ball in extra innings. The first pitch he saw, he did not wait. A cutter right down Broadway, absolutely obliterates that thing for a little bit of home run luck. Just a little bit of home run luck. The Rangers' home runs, they had a few of them that would not have been homers everywhere. I mean, Wyatt Langford's home run, I tend to think that would have been a homer in most parks, but StatCast says only a homer in 22 of 30 ballparks, a 400 expected batting average on that thing. Jonah Heim's home run, only 383 feet, would have been a homer in just over half the ballparks, not in Globe Life Field, just over the wall in Fenway. I thought the right fielder was going to end up making a play on it, but that was not the case. That is not how it worked out. The Rangers get the win, throw Kirby Yates on there in the bottom of the 10th inning, and there was never, ever a doubt with Kirby Yates, never, ever a doubt with Matt Festa being, by the way, pretty, for the most part, pretty darn good in this game and in his few outings with the Rangers. Rough first outing for sure, but the last couple he has come up in a big way in games that, well, did get the win. In this one, was saddled with the loss in his first outing, and in his second outing he looked pretty darn good when it seemed like the Rangers were just desperate for any kind of innings. But getting that kind of redemption, a multi-homer game from Adolis Garcia, he has been on fire on this road trip. He has looked more like himself. He has been thrust back into that cleanup role. I mean, the last 7 games, he's hitting .444 with an on-base of .531 and slugging .704. That is more like the Adolis Garcia the Rangers are expecting and needing, to be honest. I mean, desperately. The Rangers say that they're not out of it. It feels very much like they are out of it. I mean, 9.5 games back in the AL West feels like an insurmountable deficit, especially when you have lost the season series to the Astros. You play them no more times. You're done. That's it. You have no more chances to make up ground on the Astros. And so that is going to be I feel like insurmountable, but just getting a win like this in a moment like that from those guys who needed it so incredibly badly. I mean, for the psyche of that team, for the psyche of all of us fans who do watch every single day, the good, the bad, and a lot of ugly this year, it's just nice to have a win like that for once. This show is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the easiest, the fastest, and the best way to get last-minute tickets on every kind of event you're looking for tickets for. And also, by the way, Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They've also got the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% the difference. They've also got Gametime ticket coverage, so your purchase is covered with the most flexible service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Shout out to the Aviators for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. The Rangers take on the Twins tonight, 7:05 first pitch. Bailey Ober versus Cody Bradford. You can catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, I got to give a shout out, speaking of starting pitchers, to Dane Dunning coming in this one, the spot starting king, saving the Rangers from having to throw a bullpen day in the middle of their 13 games in a 12-day streak. 5 solid innings from him. Did get tagged for 4 runs, although one of those was just an intentional walk that he threw right before leaving the game. Fortunately, he couldn't steal a 6th inning, but shout out to Dunning, throwing 76 pitches just a couple days after throwing 28 pitches. Actually, just 3 days after throwing 28 pitches in that finale against the Yankees, keeping the Rangers in it for those 2 innings. And even though the Rangers didn't end up winning, he gave them a chance to. And in this one, he did give the Rangers a chance to win. I mean, the Rangers have had all kinds of injury issues to their starting rotation all year long. Even Dunning himself has had some injury issues this year. Hasn't quite been as durable as he was for the Rangers last year. The Rangers have definitely needed all of his innings this year, and being able to drop 5 innings in this start in these kind of circumstances was really big for this team. I mean, they flat out desperately needed him, and I thought that Nate Eovaldi might end up going on the IL. Turns out that is not going to be the case. He is going to start on a Saturday's game, so just giving him that breather, giving him a couple of days to bounce back after a rough start, after some side tightness in the game 1 of the doubleheader against the Yankees. That was good. The Rangers needed that for sure, and they also needed everything they got from this bullpen. Andrew Chafin, shout out to him for having a couple of innings where he did not allow a run after a just disastrous last couple of outings. The multi-homer game against the Yankees on Sunday, and then 4 straight walks to 4 batters with more than half your pitches being wild pitches in his last outing against the Red Sox, in a game where the Rangers probably would have won had Chafin not been the wildest pitcher we've seen in quite some time. I mean, it was almost it was worse than Aroldis Chapman levels of wild. Of just, oh boy, this guy really does not have it in that game. But bouncing back, credit to him, giving the Rangers a couple of quality innings. Robertson nearly giving the Rangers a couple of a quality inning, but alas, that bad luck with the batted ball off the bag, also the bad throw by Wyatt Langford, just not his day, raising his ERA nearly half a run. Still sitting pretty at 3.29. But Matt Festa having a couple of nice outings, and again, I think it cannot be overstated how magnificent Kirby Yates has been this season. It has been one of the more frustrating parts of this year being bad, that the Rangers just have an excellent closer for nothing. I mean, it's kind of frustrating when you sit there and your team is not any good, not good enough with the lineup or the starting rotation to, get you to a lot of close games where you have the lead. But when you do have that lockdown closer, when it is just cash money, when you know that it gets to the ninth inning, that everything's good, everything's going to be fine, everything is okay, it is just such a calming feeling. I mean, it's been a while since the Rangers had that. Last year, I know in the playoffs that Jose Leclerc was that. He was nails. He was dynamite. Same with Josh Sborz. Same with, for the most part, Aroldis Chapman in the playoffs. All of those three were fantastic. And even though they were fantastic, I still wasn't buying it in the moment. It didn't feel safe. It didn't feel comfortable by any means. But when Kirby Yates is in there, I mean, heck, even with the zombie runner rule, I'm never really worried about Kirby Yates giving up a run. I'm never really worried about him getting hit hard. I'm never really worried about him, being too erratic. I mean, the walks have been up this year compared to where they've been in his career when he's been at his peak. But, I mean, his walk rate is still just, about 4.5 per 9 this year. I mean, not great, but not by any means, terrible. It's 11.2% walk rate, the 12th percentile in baseball, but everything else about him, I mean, the swing and miss, the chasing, the weak contact, pretty much everything you look for in a great closer, and also the not allowing runs part. He's still absolutely exceptional at that. A closer with a 4-1 record. Not that wins and losses mean all that much, but only one loss for him on the season, and only 0 blown save attempts. When he's been given a save opportunity, he is 21 for 21. Absolute perfection. And dear God, do I want this man back on this team next year, when hopefully this team is actually competing and winning more baseball games. But I mean, when your expected ERA and your expected batting average are both the best in baseball, not, pretty good, not a real, solid, but the best in baseball. His expected ERA is 175. The expected batting average against is 152. Nobody's doing anything against this man. And it's kind of frustrating that it's being wasted on this kind of a team. It's kind of frustrating that the Rangers haven't had this in quite some time. I mean, the last time I felt this safe with a closer was probably Joe Nathan era Rangers. I mean, that guy was, a veteran. He was incredibly solid with the Rangers. I mean, Neftali Feliz also felt this level of safe. I mean, the Rangers have had some pretty darn good bullpens. I mean, heck, in 2016, I think it was, that this Rangers bullpen felt maybe its most nasty, with guys like Sam Dyson and Matt Bush and, Diekman and Tony Barnett as well. I mean, Keone Kela also had some great moments in there. Sean Tollison had some great moments in there. But, I mean, this is about as safe as I've felt with a closer, which is why I'm hoping these Rangers can go on some kind of a prolonged run. I'm not sure they will. I mean, it feels like pretty much a foregone conclusion that the playoffs hopes are Dunsky. Thankfully, they don't believe that, but it feels like it. I mean, what was it, Tuesday, or maybe it was yesterday, that the Rangers broadcast was talking about the Miracle Mets, who back in 1969 did end up winning the World Series, and they were 10 games out in their division at that point. So around mid-August, they were 10 games out. And while the Rangers are 9.5 out, I don't think that they still have this kind of a stretch in them. They're 10 games out in the wild card, but anything's possible at this point. I mean, it seems like we're on pace to have no team win 100 games for the first time in a decade. And the frustrating part of watching this team, stumble and fall and trip over themselves when they have the talent that won a World Series last year. They've got the offense that should be one of the better offenses in baseball. They have enough depth in the rotation that they've sustained a lot of injuries and made it through. And they've got depth in the back end of their bullpen to where, even with Leclerc falling off a little bit lately, with Josh Sborz going on the IL, they still have enough depth back there to kind of go on a run. And it just hasn't been happening. And it hasn't been happening. And time again, they keep saying, well, we can't suck forever. This team is too talented to be this bad. And, well, they kind of have been. And you know what? Even if they still are, even if this is just the team they are, even if they are just barely finishing the season above 500, if they even get there, just having a win like this, for a win like this' sake, is plenty nice. Coming up, we're going to talk about some injury updates, finally getting some positive updates on Jon Gray, about Max Scherzer, and when are those guys going to come back, and if so, if they do, what kind of role are they going to play? Plus some prospect talk right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, because unlike other apps, on PrizePicks it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It's just you against those numbers. So get in on the daily action with your friends and be part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. If you're looking for promotions, then PrizePicks got you covered every single week, from lowering your select players' stat projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back on a losing lineup on Fridays. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This show is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. You can find all your favorite flavors on their website, from acai berry to lemon lime and pina colada as well. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. There are 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients as well. It's always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free as well. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop for better hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Now, the Rangers have a slew of injured pitchers, and of course, I feel like half of every episode this year has been just injury updates, but the Rangers finally gave an update on Jon Gray. He threw a bullpen yesterday. He was feeling very good, or just good, just different stages of good versus very good that these Rangers pitchers are giving about themselves. Jacob deGrom will throw what hopefully will be his final live bullpen on Saturday, and if all goes well, he will be sent on a rehab assignment. After that, we'll see exactly how many rehab outings he has, how built up he is for those rehab outings, where he'll be, who he'll be facing, what is exactly going on with all of that. But he is just fine-tuning the slider. The changeup, he said, feels good. Fastball feels good. Velocity's there. Command's there on the fastball, which is great news to hear. Hopefully we'll get to see him in at least 1 start this year, maybe 2. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline. Hoping for some point mid to, if I'm really optimistic, early September. But at this point, I just want to see Jacob deGrom healthy and back on the hill and just ready to go for next season, because it feels like this season is pretty much cooked. Not exactly sure exactly what that update about Jon Gray means in terms of his timeline. The initial expectation was, anywhere from 2 weeks to a month with Gray, so maybe we don't see him until the beginning of September. Also, Jacob Latz will throw a bullpen today. He has been out for a little bit with I believe, an arm issue as well. I kind of forgot about Jacob Latz being on the IL, to be completely honest, because there have been so many dang injuries that it just has felt overwhelming at this point. But the Rangers did also get good news about Max Scherzer. Got a nerve injection and feels, quote, really good. That's nice for him. I don't have any idea of the timeline for Max Scherzer. There have been no updates on specifically when or if he's going to return this year. I think they're hopeful that he will return at some point this year, but I mean, in terms of him pitching another meaningful game for the Rangers, I don't really see that happening unless he wants to come back on a team-friendly deal for his age 40 season. And I don't see Max Scherzer doing that. I don't see the Rangers doing that, so it feels like there's not a whole lot to be known from there. But getting Eovaldi back into this rotation on Saturday, it seems like the rotation would look something like this with Eovaldi, Mahle, Heaney, Urena, and Bradford. And then when Gray comes back, maybe that moves Urena to the bullpen. And then when DeGrom comes back or Scherzer comes back, then you start having some discussions about if Gray is moving to the pen or if Bradford is moving back to the pen. But for me, I'm keeping Bradford in this rotation until, I don't know, maybe the end of the year. Maybe I'm moving Heaney out of the rotation before Bradford, depending on how much this team is in it, unless the Astros and the Mariners go on a prolonged slump. I mean, the Mariners are in a bit of a rough way right now, losing some games to the Tigers that they shouldn't be losing. But I don't see the Astros starting a losing streak this weekend because they got 3 games in Houston against the White Sox. And they got a difficult stretch to end the month of August with 3 against the Red Sox and then a 7-game road trip that includes 4 games against the Orioles and 4 games against the Phillies to finish off that month. They have a 4-game wraparound series, or wraparound for months, I should say, with the Royals. So got a difficult stretch coming up, but I don't see the Rangers necessarily working their way back into things, back into the thick of it, because the Astros and Mariners both went on 4, 5, 6-game winning streaks right as the Rangers were in the midst of this deeply disheartening tear. And not only, this very bad road trip, but also losing 2 out of 3 games to the Astros, where the Rangers could have won at least 2 out of 3 of those games, if not all 3 of those games. Thinking after that walk-off homer win from Josh Smith, that, okay, maybe now you start to go on a tear. But alas, that was very much not the case for the Rangers. They have just been in a rough way, and that's why a win like that last night just feels so important for not only this team, but just for this fan base, for the people who are doing this day in, day out, because, I'm kind of tired. I am exhausted of looking for every little spark of, maybe this could spark this. Maybe this could spark that. Maybe this win is the one that changes everything and everyone just does way better things that they should have been doing all along. And I have switched my vantage point of viewing from team in contention, needing every win, clinging to the edge of my seat on every ball strike, everything, in terms of hopes for maybe repeating as World Series champs this year. That's not my vantage point how I'm watching the end of this season, because it is exhausting when your team is 9.5 out and probably doesn't have that in them. It's physically possible. Emotionally, spiritually, doesn't feel super possible that this team goes on a run and, not only just gets above 500, but somehow finds a way to sneak into the playoffs, because nobody feels that great this year. They don't. Which is also why it's a little frustrating that the Rangers haven't been better, despite having the talent to be much better than they've been. But just having that kind of a win and the confidence it puts in those guys that just, this has kind of sucked this year, but at least you can have those nice moments. And the people who are watching every day, to have a team that has been, frankly, incredibly frustrating, maddening even to watch. Just like, okay, you can have this nice moment as a treat. You can have this little win, this comeback, these big, fun, good moments that are empirically fun, good, big moments for guys like Wyatt Langford, for Adolis Garcia, who needed that in the worst way, for Jonah Heim, who needed a home run in the worst way, for Wyatt Langford, for Dane Dunning, for Kirby Yates. Well, Yates didn't really need that kind of a game because he's had that kind of a season, and I imagine somebody is going to pay him a whole hefty sum of money this offseason. But just those are the moments why after losses like Tuesday, when you're sitting there thinking to yourself, why am I still watching this team? What's the point of watching the 2024 Rangers through the back half of August and the entirety of September? What am I getting out of this? You're getting moments like that. You're getting moments of joy. You're getting those moments of community that we didn't really get in a good way this year. And it's the thing that I love about sports. It's the thing that I very much loved about the World Series. Probably my favorite part was experiencing those moments with everyone. Just getting little nuggets of, okay, I'm remembering why I do this, why I spend so much time on this. But it's just nice to have the moments, and not only that, but looking forward to the future of watching the development of guys like Wyatt Langford, figuring out if this Josh Smith year, if this is just the new Josh Smith, or if it's just a little bit of a flash in the pan. But speaking of youngsters, speaking of prospects, MLB Pipeline finally updated their top 30 prospects for the Rangers at midseason after all of these trades and drafts. And a couple of things stand out to me. I don't have much time to go into it. I'll probably do a little bit more prospect talk on tomorrow's show. Hoping to get out to see Kumar Rocker tonight in person for the first time. That would be very exciting. But just some things off the jump. Brock Porter falling all the way to 30 is woof. I'm probably right with how far he's fallen off. Malcolm Moore, the Rangers' first-round pick this year, has jumped all the way up to the number 5 prospect, or I guess slotted in as the Rangers' number 5 prospect. A couple other draft picks from this year have made the top 30, including Dylan Drelling, who was the Rangers' second-round pick this year out of Tennessee. He is at number 9. The top 5 goes Sebastian Walcott, shocker, Kumar Rocker, Alejandro Rosario, Jack Leiter, and then Malcolm Moore and Emiliano Teodo sitting in there pretty at the number 6 prospect in this Rangers farm system. Casey Cook, who is the Rangers' third-round pick, slots in at 24. Just kind of a nice top 30, a nice look at what's been going on there. Also, Isaac Tiger jumping all the way up to 13. Yolfran Castillo, a guy who I have not talked about at all this year, a shortstop prospect who is 17 years old, had a great season in the Dominican Summer League, signed out of Venezuela in 2024, January 15th of this year. A combined 896 OPS between the rookie league in the Dominican and also the Arizona Rookie League. Pretty nice season for him. Batted nearly 400 at those levels combined. 414 in the Dominican and 333 stateside. Also had a 551 on base percentage in the Dominican Summer League. Really nice season for him. A guy who I will be asking around with scouts, seeing where I should have put him in my top 30, because I did not have him there, and it seems like I probably should have, but just overall a nice picture of where the Rangers prospects are at this point. I know their farm system pretty much collectively is considered in the bottom 10 in baseball. I'd say it's closer to the top end of that bottom 10, more in the, I'd say maybe 18 to 21 range, but I don't follow prospects all around baseball to the level that the people who are ranking these systems do, but I'm still pretty optimistic on this system in general, the state of where they are, the state of their contention, and, that's kind of where I'm viewing the rest of the season. It's just, all right, let's see what's happening moving forward, and occasionally, you'll get some nice, fun wins like we did last night. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.